sleep do we actually need as runners? So Chris has been wearing his watch to start monitoring this over the last week, or tracking it. And I mean, I don't do it, but go on, Chris. Give us an overview of what you've been doing and how it's been working. What's it told you so far?
So listen to this, people, right? Listen up. Firstly, bit of a spoiler alert, right? This may, again, I know you think they're amazing, right? But we aren't specialists in sleep, okay? We're not doctors. We're not, whatever it is, sleep doctors. We've got absolutely no idea what we're talking about, okay? So we're just looking at this running coach hats on, right? But sleep is, and Al, I'm looking at you here to go into detail, but sleep is, in that deep state, is basically where you do your most recovery, okay? We need to, I actually wrote something down. I'm going to read this to you because there's no way to remember this whole time, because I looked this up because I wanted to say, actually, have I deleted it? Oh, no. Right, so here we go. During deep sleep, human growth hormone is released, which helps repair muscles after a hard workout or a long run. Inversely, sleeping fewer than 6 hours regularly can lead to increased cortisol levels. Oh, you'll have to tell me what that is, which breaks down tissues and impacts the body's ability to secrete HGH, i.e. the hormone. So that's basically telling you that to recover fully, or best you can, you need that deep sleep. Now, this marathon training block, I really wanted to work on, now this might seem nuts, but my recovery, okay? Because I feel like with most of you guys out there, you're probably like me, full-time job, probably a family, stresses of life, stresses of money, and everything else that goes, around everything. And we've got our running as our pastime. Now, we've got our goal of doing Great North Run, Manchester, I don't know, Park Run really fast, whatever, right? Now, as part of that training, I feel like over the years, I've neglected the recovery element of it. And I do believe that has affected my performance. I'll give you an example, because when I look back at Edinburgh, right, and we cocked about and we got up at 5 o'clock, was it 5 o'clock? Might have been 4:45 to make sure I beat Toby in a race to Edinburgh, because that was the most important thing. That ruined me for the next day, because I only had like 4 hours of sleep. I'm not a very good sleeper when I know I've got a race beforehand. Now, that's not what I'm talking about in terms of sleep. But it did make me think, when I look back at my Edinburgh marathon training, how well did I do in terms of recovering? I don't think I did that well. So I looked through it, I researched it. Like I said, I've got that, just that little tidbit there in terms of sleep. So what I've tried to do at the start of this blog is try and focus a little bit more on getting some better sleep to aid that recovery. I'm doing, and will be starting doing, more double running, because I'm running in the day, then I'm doing coach sessions in the evening. So that's going to fatigue my body. I've obviously got long runs as well to do, and I've got the other stuff. And the importance to be able to get those double sessions done well is to be recovered well. Okay, so it all goes hand in hand. I'm not, we're going to put hydration and nutrition to one side at the moment. I'm talking about recovery. So as part of that, long story short, I'm trying to get there, admin, bear with me before we fall asleep, is I've been sleeping in my watch. Now, I've got issues outside of that, which is why I ended up in A&E over Christmas, but that's a separate issue. So I've been tracking my sleep for two reasons. There's that, but there's also the recovery part, to see how much sleep I'm actually getting and to try and improve it. Because I have read, again, I don't know this, I've got no science backup, that we need about 10 to 12 hours if possible. Yeah, 10 to 12 hours possible to really recover from like hard exercise. Now, again, that's unrealistic for most normal people, yeah? So the point of this discussion is that I've started tracking it because, and I think it's worthwhile you sitting back and thinking to yourself, right, how much actually am I sleeping? So I'm tracking it on my watch. Whether it's reliable or not, I've got absolutely no idea. So I've been in the Coros, I've been in the Garmin, and I've been tracking it every day. So when I wake up, I look at what my levels of sleep are, because you get all the different things it tells you, and you've got like, so get an example, right? So last night, 7 hours, 22 minutes, it said that quality was good. Whether you believe it or not, but it said to me, I had 1 hour and 44 of deep sleep, which is the most I've had this week. I had 4 hours, 5 minutes of light sleep, REM, which is like when your lights are all, your eyes are all twitching and you're fidgeting, I think. I had 1 hour, 33, and I was awake for 4 minutes, right? So I've now got data because, like anything with this, whether you're heart rate training, using one of them soppy stride things or whatever you're doing, you need data, right? So I've been now doing this for several weeks. It's actually probably coming up a little bit longer than that. So I can now monitor. So, for example, when I went into hospital, sounds nuts, but I was telling the doctor my whole sleep pattern. The guy probably nearly fell asleep himself, but I actually gave him the ins and outs of my sleep because I've been tracking it and I've been trying to improve my sleep. So I've been looking at what I'm eating before I go to sleep. So the 8 bags of crisps that I usually eat, because I can't have one, cut that out. I'm looking at what I'm drinking. So instead of having, say, like a cup of coffee or a cup of tea at 6 o'clock, I'm now having like a herbal tea instead. So I'm looking at different things that can try and improve that deep sleep. I want as much deep sleep as I can to aid my recovery. Now, does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I guess the flip side for me, just to counter it, is, and like data is amazing, right? What you can learn and what you know, and we're so privileged to have these watches that tell us all of these things and all of this information. But do you think you can almost look at it too much and become a bit too obsessed with it? And actually, you just need to go, do I wake up in the morning feeling recovered, refreshed, rather than worrying about what stats your watch says? In the same way, like when we say, just go out and have an easy run. And if it feels easy, good. If it feels hard, like you've really pushed yourself, it feels hard. So I'm just wondering, like, actually, do you think there's a balance? And do you think you can get a bit too hooked? Obviously, your situation's slightly different because of the health thing that you've just mentioned as well. So
yeah, I think, yes, 100% right. You can get addicted to it. You can get, and I am addicted because that's my personality, right? So I'm now hooked on it. But that's just me. But I do. My point that I'm trying to make is that, and it's funny, admin, I didn't tell you this, but I had a conversation with Ben about this as well.
Yeah.
Because he was, I don't know what to say, but he was thinking along the same sort of lines as me. And what I want to do is I want to put it out there. It's an element, it's an area of training, right, that we don't discuss. It's like we all talk about strength and conditioning. We all say, yeah, you should do this, you should do that, you should look what you're eating, you should make sure you're hydrating. But in terms of recovery, in terms of out and out performance gain from recovery, you get that in sleep.
Yeah, and we don't talk about it enough because a lot of the time when we talk about recovery, we talk about eating well and we talk about rest days, right? Yeah. Stretch days and rest days and stretching. But I'm interested. Did anyone else? So Toby, Al.
Let me come in with a little bit of the science bit. I know it might send some people to sleep, and you're right, Chris, sleep is probably the element of an overall training program that never gets discussed, but it actually connects everything else, I would argue. So we set up the training plans. We think about trying to train our body to do, whatever it is, the interval runs, the fasting, the fast runs, the slow runs. It's actually sleep where your brain makes those neural connections. So you've probably heard in the past talking about muscle memory. It was a big thing in the 90s for golfers. That's kind of where those connections are made. So that's when your body is learning to do what you're asking it to do during your training sessions. You talked about cortisol, Chris. That's a stress hormone. What that does, if you are not sleeping properly and you are experiencing a lot of that cortisol stress hormone, your body won't be processing all those nutrients properly because it's the sleep it's the cortisol that blocks some of that goodness from being converted into the good energy that we're looking for rather than the bad fats. We talk about remaining healthy during a training program and the stress we put on our body. It's that sleep that helps us develop and keep a good immune system. So if you're not sleeping properly, you will feel tired, you will fatigued, you will catch more colds, you will just feel groggier during your training program. So you can take any element of everything else we talk about, and if you're not getting the right quality and the right quantity of sleep, then you're suboptimal. You're not maximizing everything else in your training program, I'd argue. So I hope that helps a bit.
Yeah, that was the song. That's brilliant, Al. That's exactly what we needed. Some proper stuff. What about you, Hayden? Apart from when you're like someone else's house and you're sort of sleeping over.
I think actually, so Mark picked up on it as well on the comments. the problem is due to modern life, talking about 8 to 10 hours sleep and stuff. In the modern day, it's really difficult. A lot of us now, whereas traditionally jobs were always used to be 9 to 5 and so now a lot of us, I don't know about everyone here, a lot of us, I start work at 5:30, 6 in the morning, and there's no way I'm going to start going to bed at 8 o'clock at night. It almost feels like that's just a waste of your life. So getting that 8 to 10 hours sleep is difficult. I think I've got no science behind this at all, but I think you can train your body. I think if you're someone that needs 12 hours sleep and you've always had it, you'll keep having it. But I just find if you get used to like being on lesser sleep, 6 hours, 7 hours a night, I just think your body gets used to it and trained. You've also got this cardio, it's the cardiovascular as well. It's maintenance with your heart. So the longer you sleep, the more your heart starts pumping blood around your body and makes you feel better. This is why when you have hangovers, if you go out and have a real big session and you only have a couple of hours sleep, you wake up feeling rough, like really rough most of the time. If you have a 10-hour, 11-hour sleep, you wake up, your body's recovered itself already. Well, it's been pumping out extra blood and it works while you're asleep because it's not taking up any other space. If you're walking, talking, any other activity you're doing, so it focuses just on repairing you. So there's absolutely no doubt about it. It's good for you. It's just whether or not you can actually participate in doing it. And what can you do apart from going down a medicational route? If you can't sleep, you can't sleep.
Aidan, there are a few things we can do to kind of combat the worst excesses of modern life. I think Chris might have mentioned coffee. So coffee we know is a stimulant. Try and avoid that a couple of hours before your normal bedtime routine. So, whenever that is, whether it's 12 o'clock midnight, 4 a.m. in the morning, or like me, 8 p.m., try and cut some of the coffee out. But there's other things, chocolate, caffeine generally, and even vitamins can all stimulate your body because that's what they're designed to do. And that's what's going to affect the quality of the sleep. Phones, unfortunately, is another no-no. Turn that blue light off. Don't sleep with the phone next to your bed. That will improve the quality of your sleep. Even down to things like exercise. And if you exercise, up to 2 hours before you'd normally go to bed, your body is in a stress state by definition. That's what you've tried to do. And it's all those things that you can adjust to just make the quality of your sleep, however much or however little you get, better quality sleep.
Super, isn't it? I mean, not being funny, but I think within those last 8 minutes, that's the most value we've added for about 100 episodes. Right, so the lady who came to Hayden Satellite, what was her name, Hayden?
Oh, yeah, I've got to give a big shout out to her, Angela.
Angela, who's now listening back to all the episodes. Angela, probably wouldn't bother. Just listen to the last 8 minutes of this. That's about as good as it gets. All right. But if you're coming to the National Running Show, expect loads of value to be added like that. Won't be. But anyway, mouth breathing while sleeping negative. Oh, okay. Yeah, sleep apnea. Yeah, talking about that. Yeah, so I think, it's quite interesting. It's an interesting topic that I wanted to bring up because, as I said to you, it's something that I think we neglect a little bit to talk about because we focus too much on the easy stuff, strength and conditioning, like as I said, and all those other bits. I'm not telling you to go to bed at 7 o'clock on a Friday because you need to watch this. But what I am saying to you is think about it. Ask yourself, do I feel like I've got a good night's sleep? Because it will make a difference. Like I said to you, I struggle to sleep before a race. I never sleep before a race. Tomorrow morning, the fact that we've got to go Great Yarmouth, knowing the fact I've got to get up, I won't sleep. And I struggle as well to sleep after a big race because of everything that goes on in terms of the adrenaline and stuff like that. But in general, I am trying to get better. And that's my message to you as a coach to you all, right? If I was coaching you all, is to say, look at your sleep. Think about it. I mean, you look like you want to say something.
Right, so I was just going to say, I think it's a good point you make, actually. Like, think about your sleep, do what you can, but also not sleeping the night before a race, as tired as you're going to feel, right? And I don't sleep the night before a race, but it's not going to make or break your race. It's not just about getting a good night's sleep the night before a race. It's about your whole training block and it being more consistent across a longer period of time, or all the time. In fact, it's not just about that one day or that week before the marathon or half marathon or whatever you're training for. It's
actually, we always say it's the sleep the day before, if that makes any sense. So it's always like, let's say the race is on a Sunday, traditionally are. It's the sleep you get that Friday night. It's that Saturday morning where people, they like to go park run, whatever. Actually, park run's great to do the day before, a big race. But actually, you'd be better off getting those 12 hours, waking up at 10, then having a little poodle about, but getting that like massive block of sleep, well, actually, you'll be better off on the race day. I think, again, it's his own personal opinion. I'm not a qualified doctor. I'm nearly qualified to play for the All Blacks, but I'm not a qualified doctor. But seriously, people, just look at it and think about it. How you are recovering, and the sleep element of that. That's what I wanted to discuss. I think we've got that point across. Great points, Al, Hayden, as well on that. Toby, you added no value, but I've still got hope for you to add value at the end of the show in your oversight.